So I wanted to actually talk about, we're gonna talk about becoming listing dominant. Do you guys consider yourself listing dominant, or do you primarily work with buyers? Just kind of curious.
Listings.
More listings? How about yours?
I'm a newcomer, so.
Newcomer, so that's awesome. So I'm glad you came, because you know what, this is the most effective way of actually generating listings. In my opinion, a lot of people, a lot of real estate professionals don't even know what being listing dominant is. When I got into the business a long time ago, 30 years ago, you walk in, right? You just get your license and you think about working with buyers. That's what you think. You think you're gonna show somebody a house and you're gonna sell them a house. You don't even know what it is to be a listing agent until you start getting in the business, and you start to realize, wow, there's some pretty good, effective listing agents out there that make a lot of money. But yet, we just know, we stay with what we know, we stick with what we know. So here's the 3 reasons why the listing dominant agents really love being listing dominant. Number 1, they do get to spend more quality time with family. On the weekend, while everybody's running buyers around up and down, because that's when they have the time off, a very strong listing agent can take the weekends off here and there.
Really?
And here and there, and spend more time with family, because you know what, the majority of them really all they do is prospect or create money-making activities during the week, right? Focused on generating listings. So if they have something planned, they don't have to say, hey, you know what, I can only see property at this day and this time, and they go out there. So a better quality of life. Number 2, there's a lot less competition with listing agents. The majority of real estate professionals don't even know what it is to be massive, to actually take massive action and then create, more prospecting, more lead generation. The majority of real estate agents are primarily buyer's agents, right? So there's a lot less competition in the other side, in the listing dominant area. And also, the one I love the most is that this is how we find investment friendly deals. When you're prospecting to sellers, a lot of sellers, and that's all you do, you wind up finding some good deals, right? Some people that are maybe in distress. Whereas if you're just a buyer's agent, usually you don't see them until they're listed, or until they're sold, until they're closed. Off-market deal just closed, right? But if you're that person that's actually being very, very effective and just talking to sellers every day, you come across these deals. And eventually, as I did, you start to buy them. Maybe at the beginning, we're not so, not so sure or whatever, so we sell them to our investors. But at the end of the day, then you start saying, hey, why am I passing these deals on? I should buy them for myself. And you start to buy them for yourself. And that's what I love most about being listing dominant. So those are our top 3 reasons why we become listing dominant. All right? So right now, this time, the reality is that most agents, they try to become listing dominant by prospecting to local neighborhoods. You tell somebody, hey, go door knock this neighborhood, get a farm, go door knock the farm, you get an open house, go door knock the neighborhood, I get a lot of calls by agents saying, hey, you know what, there's this area that I really like and I want to start farming there. Well, that's the reality of the way the agents are working right now. But what happens is, as you can see here, your typical farm area is turning over at less than 3%. Some as low as 2% in some areas. So what does that do for those people that are just door knocking? And you know what? People say you got to door knock to get listings, but they're door knocking and door knocking and door knocking and door knocking, and they don't get anything. They don't get any traction. Or they're cold calling and cold calling, and they don't get any traction either. And then they start saying, well, this doesn't work. Why are they telling me to do this? Right? There's got to be another way. So then what happens? They stop. And that's why the majority of agents are not listing agents, because in reality, they don't get the traction needed. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to make sure that we actually figure out what drivers and what actions we need to take in order for us to get to our goal. Because I think at the beginning of the year, we put some pretty heavy goals down, right, on paper. And we're over a quarter of the year in, and the question is, how are you doing in relation to your goal? Are you tracking close to goal? You are? That's awesome.
I'm exceeding, yeah.
You're exceeding?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You went way too long.
I know that. Yeah, no, it's been unexpected, but for sure, I think for me, like I started door knocking last summer, and you go through that like, oh, it's not working, you're not getting anything, but I just put it into escrow with someone that I touched in July last year. So it was like 9 months of working on getting them to list it. 5 days on the market, and we got into escrow.
Nice. You see, that's a great, and that's reality. You know, you set your goals, and then you need to know what actions are gonna actually get you to your goal, number one. But what drivers, where are you gonna target? Where's my business gonna come from? Because if I have some really high goals, I can't just basically keep doing the same thing year over year over year and expect that change, right? So I gotta figure out who's gonna be my drivers and what actions am I gonna take. Now, who are the drivers and what action should we actually take? When I say drivers, who's driving in that business? I'm talking about specific homeowners. I'm talking about homeowners with a 20% plus turnover. I want you guys to think about that. If I'm door knocking a neighborhood and it's turning over at less than 3%, right? And somebody else is door knocking homeowners that are turning over at over 20%, who is gonna have more success? Obviously, if you get 20 out of 100 homeowners that are gonna actually sell, and I'm knocking on doors at 2 out of 100, the person knocking on these homeowners with 20 plus turnovers, they're the ones that are gonna have more success. Am I right or wrong? And then what happens is you have much better conversations also. So even though you might not have that immediate success, that immediate gratification, what we realize is this: when you're having better conversations, what does it do? It keeps you in the game. It keeps you coming back because you say, oh my God, I'm having good conversations with people. I need to keep going. Whereas when you're door knocking farms in areas that are turning over at under 2%, 3%, you don't have those conversations too often. And your motivational level goes like this, straight down. Even though we always say, hey, you got to work out discipline, right? Not motivation. But guess what? Eventually your discipline starts doing this too. Because if you ain't got no success, you're just like, nah, I'm not only not finding deals, I'm not having any good conversations with anybody. So that's why I'm gonna really focus on people that are turning over at over 20%, because those conversations are much better than those that have absolutely no need to sell. And obviously we know now referrals are just no longer enough. You know, when it's a market, when your market changes this drastically, referrals, they're the same thing. They're gonna follow the market. So you're gonna get less referrals. So we have to find a way to generate business in this market. So now I'm gonna go over the drivers. Who's my drivers? Who is actually driving business right now? And who's turning over at over 20%? I want you to think about this. I'm gonna, number one, focus on notice of defaults, notice of trustee sales. If 2 in every 10 are actually gonna list and sell, why am I not targeting them? Why am I not visiting them? Well, there is a lot of people that do, but guess what? They knock on the door once or twice, they don't get the result they wanted, and they move on to the next house. When in reality, notice of defaults are very different in motivational levels. When they first file a notice of default and they got 3 months left, they're not very motivated. So if I knock on the door then, they're gonna say, no, I don't wanna sell. I'm working it out with a bank. Or they're just gonna say, I already worked it out with a bank, right? But guess what? If that same person 3 months in is still there, not listed, and all of a sudden they start realizing the bank ain't gonna work anything out with me. What's their motivation level at now? I got $100,000 of equity and the bank's about to sell my house in 2 weeks. It's the same notice of default, but one's a lot more motivated than the other because the time is going by. So we gotta learn how to work these. So when I say what action do I take? Well, you know what? Number one, I'm gonna knock on the door. I'm gonna make sure that I ask them, hey neighbor, got a minute? Just wanted to stop by because we just sold the property here in the neighborhood for top dollar. I was just wondering if for the right price, you consider selling yours. That's it. And if it's early in the game, they're probably gonna say you got the wrong house. I'm not delinquent, I'm not this. right? I didn't even ask them if they were delinquent. I'm not even mentioning that they're in default. I'm going there just as if I'm regular, just prospecting. But the key is gonna be in my follow-up. Because if I give up at 1 or 2 times, eventually 2 in 10 are gonna list and sell. So you gotta keep going back. So best thing to do is to try to get a phone number when you're at the door. Neighbor, you know what, I just wanted to stop by. We just sold property here in the area. We sold it for top dollar. I was just wondering if for the right price you consider selling your property. And if they say no, guess what? This is, look at what it says down here. Remember I said this is where we find deals? Well, this particular lead is an investor-friendly deal. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add to that. By the way, I'm working with a group of investors that are looking to purchase property similar to yours, all cash. Would you be interested in an express all cash offer? I'm trying to get something from them, right? Some kind of reaction. And then, so what if they say, no, I'm not interested? Well, why don't we do this, Mr. Homeowner? I'm gonna keep trying. Why don't you give me your number? Let me shoot you over the price we have in mind. And that way, at least you'll have a number to work with, whether you wanna sell or not. Is that fair? What's your number? I'm trying to get a number. And guess what? If this is an early notice of default, they're gonna say, no, 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 no. But guess what? When I'm talking to them 2.5 months down the line and the bank is already sending them, even if they already filed a notice of trustee sale, and there's already a sale date involved, they're gonna say, hey, by the way, Hugo, what was that price? What was that offer that you wanted to make me? You see the difference? You just gotta know how to work them. You gotta learn how to work them. A lot of people, they knock on doors, like I said, and they're just not motivated because they're too new, they're too fresh. Do any of you knock on notice of defaults? Well, you knock on doors. This is a great source of business. And again, the notice of default is the driver, the action taken is door knock, and guess what? I need to know that this is an investor-friendly deal, seller. I need to know that I can offer them a cash offer and that they would be receptive to it. Because some people won't be receptive to it. So I need to know what kind of seller that is, okay? Number 2, affidavit of death recordings. How many of you are knocking on these doors? Because that's the action I need to take with these people. Somebody files an affidavit of death, right? Somebody on title has passed away. If somebody on title passes away, there's gonna be a surviving spouse or surviving kids or surviving somebody, right? There's gonna be some kind of hardship. So again, if you have affidavit of deaths that get recorded, what happens then? What do we do with these affidavit of deaths? It's the same thing. Hey neighbor, got a minute? Just wanted to stop by because we just sold the property here in the area for top dollar. I was just wondering if for the right price you'd consider selling yours. No, we're not interested. Or, you know what, you need to talk to so-and-so. Okay, you have his number, right? I don't door knock on these doors and say, hey, I'm so sorry. God, it sucks to be you. This. No, nothing like that. What I'm doing is I'm prospecting. I'm gonna start a conversation with them. I'm gonna let them tell me their story, right? Everybody's guard is up. You ever notice when somebody starts walking near your door, you're already like, oh shit. Right? Their guard is up. They don't know what the heck is to expect. So imagine you come at me if I'm losing my house and I'm gonna be like, hey, you're losing your house. I'm gonna say no. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right? I'm not losing my house. You got the wrong house, right? That's the neighbor's house. But think about this. If I don't make it about them and I make it about something else, I want to start a conversation with them. And that's why at the end of the day, if we start talking and we have a conversation and then we basically just say, hey, you know what? By the way, Mr. Homeowner, because this is an investor-friendly deal, if they tell me, no, I'm not interested in selling right now. By the way, Mr. Homeowner, I work with a group of investors that are looking to buy actually property just like yours. Would you consider a cash offer on your property? See what they say. What do they say? How much? Well, you know what I can do, Mr. Homeowners. Let me take a look at your property. Let me run some numbers. Let me go back to my office. Let me run some numbers. And then what we can do is let's go ahead and make an appointment to come back later on today or tomorrow morning, and we can let you know the price we have in mind. Is that fair? Right? Remember, it's about the conversations we have with these people and the type of conversations we have. Why am I gonna go door knocking door to door to door to door when I got people like this I can talk to? I want you guys to think about that. So the first two, we're door knocking the notice of defaults and we're door knocking the affidavit of debts, and they are both investor friendly sellers. Guess what? When people ask me, "Ooh, how many deals does it take to make 100 grand in today's market?" I say, find yourself 2 of these and you do it in 2 deals. What? I see it happening all the time. That's how I got into this business. I started door knocking and then I started getting into flipping properties because I started finding my own deals. I started saying this is much better than being very transactional. You know what? Some people say it takes 12 deals to make 100 grand. That's a lot of deals. So imagine how much would it take me to make $500,000? About 50 deals. Oh, good luck with that, right? But you know what? I got people that make $1 million plus on 10, 12, 15 deals. But it's about you. It's how you want to run your business. What I'm trying to do is get you guys focused on being transactional. Of course, we're earners. We have to earn a living. But at the same time, put yourself in front of situations where you can increase your income. Is that fair? Mm-hmm. So these two, again, great drivers of business, notice of defaults and affidavit of debts. Now I'm going to go to number 3, divorce filings. This one is a very high listing target. As you can see, I have that here. And the action taken, again, I'm going to door knock them. And I'm going to say the same script. Hey, neighbor, you got a minute? Just wanted to stop by because we just sold a property here in the area for top dollar. I know you're getting divorced. I was just wondering who cheated on who?
No, you don't want to go there.
They'll tell me eventually. Though.
They do.
They do later on.
But here's the deal. Just wanted to stop by to see if for the right price you consider selling yours. Now, divorces are awesome because guess what their target is? They're a lot more than 2%. They're a lot more than 20%. They're more than 50% turnover. They're over 60% turnover. That means for every 10 divorces, you're going to have 6 transactions. And the beautiful thing about this is that they're actually well off. Mm-hmm. Not only are you going to get the listing, you're going to get 2 sales on both sides. And the great thing about divorce filings is that even if they have a family member in the business, they usually don't want to involve them when they're getting divorced. Right?
Very true.
So again, Jesse and Fontana, you pulled the numbers, or somebody pulled the numbers.
Fontana's the worst.
Yeah.
Is it divorce in what? In divorce?
Yeah, there was, I think, almost 75 divorces in the past, 3 months.
75. So think about this. If you live in Fontana, you might want to move. No. But the reality is this. I want you guys to start changing your way of thinking. Like your door knocking way is awesome. Keep spending that same amount of time doing it. Like, don't change that. Increase it even. Because your conversations are going to be just so much better. Right? At the end of the day, I want to be effective in whatever it is that I'm doing. And trust me when I say, if you're door knocking for a year and you do 2-3 listings, that's awesome. But you door knock these for a year, you're going to get a lot more than that.
But the data has to be good, right?
We're
You can door
using the
knock.
data. Whereas
Yeah, you can door knock all you want, but if you go out there blind, you're not gonna get anything out of it.
Well, you got to remember, the divorce filings, this data comes from the county recorder's office. Mm-hmm. And that's why there's a big difference. I'm not saying to call them. Because you know what, data, phone numbers and stuff like that, you're right, a lot of them are not good. Mm-hmm. But here's the truth of the matter. If I knock on your door and I ask for Hugo, and Hugo answers that door, my name just changed. My name is now Ricardo, because I'm gonna say Hugo doesn't live here.
Yes.
My name is Ricardo. And why? Because nobody wants to talk to you. And that's why we use the term neighbor a lot. Hey neighbor, you got a minute? Because the reality is that even if you get phone calls, and right away when you figure out it's a spam phone call, don't you already say, oh, they're not here, or you got the wrong number, or whatever. That's our natural way of pushing people away. That's how it is. So I hear what you're saying, but when the data comes straight from the county, these are recorded documents, a recorded filing, a recorded notice of default,
right.
a recorded affidavit of death. These are recorded documents, so they are affecting that property directly.
So I have high success rate for listing appointments with phone calls, which is why I'm asking, do you guys have phone numbers as well? Because for me in my process, I touch whoever I door knock several times before I show up to their door. That way, by the time I show up, I'm not a stranger.
And that's
Right.
great. So you know that you know you could skip trace these, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically they get them in a CSV file and you skip trace them.
I'm still trying to figure out how the divorce information's coming, because it's not with the county recorder's office. How
No,
would that-
it's file, they're filings. So basically they're filings, they're
So
court
that's
filings.
what you track,
Yes.
that's what you
The
pull.
court
is with-
filings. So anybody
Superior
that,
Court.
correct, the court filings.
Okay.
And again, through Title Toolbox, you can actually access these, you can get them.
Okay,
And that's what I'm saying. So when you start looking for these actual drivers, you can get them. They're filings, they're court filings, they're county recorders, county records, the notice of defaults, the affidavit of deaths are recorders, are records that are recorded. So at the end of the day, it's just a matter of you actually targeting a lot of these people, right? And there's different ways. So you're right, the data has to be good, but this is good data. Trust me, I trust a lot of business.
No, yeah, no, it's not that I don't trust you, I just.
So here's another one, guys. Who should we target when we're out on the doors, when we're knocking on doors? Expires and for sale by owners. Why? Because why? There's a very high probability of selling, of relisting. It's not 2%, like when you're knocking on doors, there's gonna be a lot more relisting. There's like 30 or 40% that are gonna relist. And the reality is, once they relist it the second time, guess what? They usually will, if you have a strong enough agent, will drop their price accordingly,
Yeah.
because they're already like, if I'm gonna do this again, I'm not, it's because I'm serious, right? So they're gonna relist it at a better price. So again, I'm gonna look at my action needed, the door knock, the best action, it's a very high listing target. So I got 4 drivers that I'm gonna target door knocking. So let's say that I pull up these 4 drivers in the city of Fontana, our neighbor here. And I say, well, okay, I got 4 drivers in Fontana, and how am I gonna target these people? Well, I'm gonna go door knocking them. Well, am I gonna just pull up addresses and put them on my maps and go from one to the other, to the other, to the other? No, there's apps out there. There's a good one called Circuit. I don't know if anybody actually does route planning, but they're route planners, so that you can actually get out there and go from door to door as they are in order. So this one, the closest one might be a notice of default. The next one might be a divorce filing, the closest one. The next one might be, again, another notice of default. The next one might be an affidavit of death. But at the end of the day, it's taking me through the shortest route. So I'm not driving all the way back and forth through all of Fontana trying to figure out how to get, and I'm like, oh, damn, I just was there. Now I just have to come all the way back. So use the app called something like similar. It's a route planner app. The one that a lot of my people like to use is called Circuit. Pull it up. Again, doesn't mean you have to use it, but I think it's a lot easier, makes it a lot easier for you. Okay? Any questions so far?
Yep, it's good.
Number 5, tired landlords. These are people that have owned their investment property for over 20 years. Over 20 years, so they're tired. They're older. They probably bought the investment for 100 grand. It's probably worth 500 grand now. They're ready to retire. They want to move out of the state. They want to move out of the country. They want to move wherever, right? And they want some money to spend. So at the end of the day, hey, if I'm working with an investor, look at this. This one's also an investor-friendly seller. Why? Because usually the properties are not in the best of shape. If it's been a rental for over 12 years, 20 years, sometimes 30, 40 years, do you think it's gonna be in good shape? No. And at the end of the day, if it's an investor-friendly deal, remember, if I'm gonna call them, because these people don't live on the property, so I'm gonna call, text, and email them. Call them, hey neighbor, just calling you up because we just sold the property here in Fontana near your investment property. I was just wondering, because we sold it for top dollar, if you consider selling yours. No, I'm not interested. Well, you know what? I'm working right now with a group of investors that are looking to buy in the area all cash. Would you consider an all cash offer? Not at the moment. Okay, great. So now remember, there's 2 reasons why these people sell. Number 1 is because they're tired. They don't want to keep that rental. But another big reason why these landlords sell over 20 years is because of the depreciation. I don't know if you guys know how taxes work on rentals, but you could only depreciate your single-family residence for 27 years. And that's the biggest depreciation, that's the biggest write-off that an investor has on their property. So if I can't depreciate it anymore, guess what they do? If it's a savvy investor, they sell it and they buy a replacement property that they can start depreciating again. So you have multiple reasons why these people will sell. Number one is they're just tired, and number two, they want to sell because the depreciation is basically no longer there. Okay? And again, write it down, that's an investor-friendly seller. Action, call, text, and email. Next is the empty nesters. I don't know about you, but every time it seems like you walk into an open house, or usually, an elder couple, somebody, of age that is selling. Why? Because you know what? At this point in time, they don't care about the interest rate. They probably don't have a big loan on their property. These are 30+ year homeowners. They're investment friendly sellers because a lot of their properties are dated. They love cash offers because they don't want to deal with anybody, right? And they just want to get their cash and move. So if I'm going to be targeting, again, a city like Fontana, I'm going to make sure that I get the empty nesters in that area as well. And I'm going to be focused on spending my quality time focusing in on them. Any questions on the empty nesters? And last but not least is the 80-20 loans. Now, the 80-20 loans, remember these are people that have those silent seconds, people that have at one point in time, they purchased a property maybe about 2000 to 2005, 2006, and they purchased that home with 100% financing. And out of the 100% financing, they had an 80% first and a 20% second. Okay, so what happens now? They all of a sudden modify because the market crashed. They modified their property, their loans, but the second they left it alone, that 20% second is just sitting there over the years. And now over the years, guess what? They're sending collection letters to them. After 20 years later, these homeowners are now saying, hey, you're either gonna sell or I foreclose. And guess what? A lot of these are winding up on this list right here. Boom. A lot of those are winding up on the notice of default list. Why? Because they can't make a payment of $50, $60, $70, $100, $200,000 at times with their collection letter. So they're gonna have to do what? Sell. They're gonna have to sell.
I have a client, well, possible client, that he's dealing with that issue.
Mm-hmm.
He has his main loan, the big one.
The first,
The first, and then he has the second. The second, the bank is not taking payments any longer.
No.
Yeah, so what happened to him? He has to sell it, right?
He has to sell it because the second is gonna foreclose on him if he doesn't sell it or if he doesn't pay them up. And that's the thing, a lot of people think, well, I just won't pay them. No, they're gonna foreclose on you. They're gonna get their money. They waited 20 years for the market to be where it's at right now, to where there's enough equity that they're gonna get paid.
Yeah, the bank doesn't want to take the payments from him anymore.
No.
Right.
No, because the reality is they probably want what they're delinquent. If they're delinquent $30,000.
$200 something.
Well, there you
right
go.
Now.
See, and the reality is that somebody like that, he still has the equity where he could still cash out some money. Whereas if he were to just let it go, then he's gonna lose out.
For him, because he asked me, I said, Giovanna, can you help me? Can you help me to, what can I do? I say, well,
You can sell it. I mean,
right? That's it, right?
Either that or
Either
he
get-
buys
Huh?
the first. Right?
which is, he can
If he
refi,
refi
he can
second.
try to refi but you
The
gotta
first?
remember, he's gonna have to cash out. Does he make enough money to cash
Right.
out with his interest and this and that? So the reality is most people won't even qualify
Right.
to refi. Plus, if they're delinquent on that mortgage, you're not gonna have another mortgage turn around and give them a loan if they're currently delinquent on that loan. So the reality is his best bet is to do a net sheet for him and say, this is what you're gonna be able to walk away with if you sell today. He's gonna have to sell. You're not gonna be able to negotiate much for him and
No.
stuff.
If he refinance, he needs to refinance just the first loan.
No, he has to pay off the second.
Oh,
He has-
oh,
If you refi, yeah, and that's what he's saying, is he's gonna try and refi the first, but he's gotta have, and he's already in default.
Yeah,
If he's in default on the
he's in
second,
default.
no one's gonna give him a loan, so
Yeah.
you're gonna have a listing.
that's what I'm saying. But can you see why these are good targets though? Because that's the
Yes.
scenarios that they run to. But it's sad because some of these people, they don't even know. They think it's fraud. They get a letter and they're like, well, this is fraud. I got a collection letter for, Jesse, how much was that one? 400 and,
400 and almost 425.
we got one where it was the second that they got a collection letter for $420,000. And they gotta pay it.
How can I cross this guy and tell him, hey, that's what it is, you need to, pretty much you need to sell your house.
Yeah, just tell them, hey, you know what, this is a loan that you applied for and they gave you 20 years ago or whenever it was. And the reality is you have not made payment, so they have the right to collect and foreclose on your property.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's a house,
And the sad thing is a lot of the people, when they modified years ago, they didn't even know, like the second.
no, they didn't know. Mhm.
They assumed like the whole deal got taken care of. So a lot of people were modifying, helping people out, but they weren't helping them out all the way, you
Right.
know? So, all right, so those were our drivers. 1, NODs, affidavit of death. 2, divorces. 3, expires and for sale by owners. 4, tired landlords. 5, empty nesters, and 80/20s. And yes, we use Pacific Coast Title Toolbox to share with you guys how to get all these leads. We could do a one-on-one so that we can actually help you with your farms, take care of your farms, and so you can actually get in the system. Remember this: extraordinary results come from the decisions that we make and the actions we take. So I could make the decision that I'm going to start door knocking, and I could say I'm going to start door knocking 4 hours a day. But is that going to make me successful? No. But what action am I going to take? How effective is my door knocking going to be? Who am I going to target for those 4 hours a day? What kind of conversations am I going to have during those 4 hours every day? Could you see yourself actually having conversations with these types of homeowners 4 or 5 hours every single day? What kind of success you would have? Think about it. You know, I have clients making over $1 million a year, 100% targeting these people. Why? Because not only are they getting listings, but they're finding investment opportunities as well.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a combination of both. You got to tell yourself, what am I here to do? Am I here to just put a lot of people in and out of escrow? But you know what? You're going to get a little tired over the years.
So can you get that kind of leads?
What we're going to do, we're going to give us your business card. Jesse will sit down with you. They'll share with you how to pick up the leads on Title Toolbox, so we can actually sit and say, hey, this is how you're going to get them. And you create your farms, your targeted farms. And it's so simple because, like, what city do you live in? San Jacinto. Imagine, I want all these homeowners in San Jacinto. And every single day, I'm gonna wake up and, hey neighbor, I start finding all the neighbors. But not only that, if I wanna expand because I'm going through them too fast, what's the neighbor to San Jacinto? You got Hemet, Moreno Valley. So you say, you know what, I want these cities too. Because I wanna make sure that I'm being effective and I'm actually, when I talk about taking massive action, I mean doing it every day. So could you imagine that opportunity that you guys would have if you just start targeting some of these people on a daily basis? I remember years ago when I started, door knocking was kind of, what we do is we start at one corner, we go every single door to this corner, we cross the street, we go every single door to this one, we go to, that's what I did 30 years ago. And I did it 8 hours a day. But right now we have data, we have technology. Why am I gonna do that? No, I'm gonna park right here and I'm gonna say, okay, here's a divorce guy and here's an affidavit of death guy. You know what, I'm gonna knock on these doors and then I'm gonna knock on people that actually have a need, a necessity to do something. And that's where our conversations get a lot better. That's where our conversations get a lot better, yeah, just.
I'll say so. Well, we're here in the city of Upland, right? So in the past 3 months, we have 44 affidavit of deaths, 8 notice of defaults, 6 notice of trustee sales, 3 probates, 2 divorces, and let me see, The, what's the other one, empty nesters?
Yeah, empty
Yes,
nesters. You have a lot of those.
Oh, yes.
Enough.
So there's-
Enough, yes.
There's 20,000 homes here in Upland
Total homes.
total.
But you see how the target works though?
And
And that's
2,800 empty nesters.
2,800. But remember, the empty nesters were not expected. That's where then you could drill down Title Toolbox and get the leads, and then you can actually get phone numbers for these people. So that's why I'm saying when we target them, there's 4 specific targets that we do by door, and there's 3 that we have a little bit harder to get to that we do by phone. But again, if you time block, if you learn how to time block and put time aside, and you know, we all do that. Who's into social media? Everybody? Right? I'm into social media. It doesn't take 12 hours a day to do social media, does it? So time block 4 or 5 hours a day where you're actually having conversations with people. And then social media, you can take 1 or 2 hours. How many hours a day do you put into that?
Social media,
Yeah.
so I didn't have personal social media, so what I did was when I came into the sales side of things, I understood that it's a driver for business, so I made it so that I do it throughout the day, so it's not taking time.
you go, that's
I just kind of post stuff as I go throughout the day, so it's not time consuming at all unless I'm gonna go do my just sold, offer accepted. And I take on Sundays 2 hours to get everything done for the next 2 weeks. So just 2 Sundays.
Yeah,
a
it's
month.
not time consuming.
Mhm.
And the problem is that a lot of people say that that's their full-time job. They're social media people and they work about that much time, but they don't do anything else. And then they wonder why their business is where it's at, why they're not being that successful. Well, then you're not having conversations with anybody, right? So that's what I'm saying. Time block. If you're gonna say, hey, you know what, 4 or 5 hours every single day, I'm gonna just focus on having conversations with these people because I'm gonna do my follow-up, my lead gen, work on my database, my sphere, and then I'm gonna do social media. And before you know it, you guys are gonna be making big bucks. Remember, drivers plus the action is what will equal to your goal. It's not the other way around. It's not we put our goal first. You know what? As long as you're doing the drivers and the action, that money's gonna come in. The money's gonna come in. But you have to do the work, right? Follow me on Instagram, you guys, if you don't. Slow and steady, that's the key. Don't expect immediate results or else you stop. You just said it yourself, right? 9 months to get 1 listing. Think about that. How many people would have done it? Not many people. People would have stopped, they would have given up. But that's why very few in this industry, you see that, like, oh my God, they're doing just great. What are they doing? Well, guess what? They're working their ass off, right? And they're being very effective with what they're doing. And we all have the same opportunity. We all have the same opportunity. You just have to partner up with the person that's gonna lead you in the right direction. And I hope you partner up with me, because trust me, I could lead you in that right direction. I could put you in front of the right homeowners. I can help you. Again, I was in your shoes. I sold real estate for a lot of years. I started buying real estate at the end of the day. But I know what it is to door knock. I know what it is to cold call. I know what it is to get in front of a client, negotiate with a client, negotiate a deal, buy a deal. I do it all. I did it all. It's just a matter of what are you willing to do, right? Because you just got your license. You're very motivated. Trust me. What I always tell people, trust me, you're gonna get a reality check real quick. You're gonna be like, holy shit, like what the hell? I thought it was gonna be easy, right? But it's not. But it is and it's not. It is easy if you follow the blueprint that is gonna make you successful. All you gotta do is follow it. Now, is it gonna take some time? Yeah, because you're gonna have to invest something, right? And if you ain't got a whole lot of money to invest, what do you got? You got time. So you're gonna invest that time into your business. You're gonna focus on creating that, and you're gonna focus on generating more business. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions? And I hope the thing for here is to open just, okay, you know what, maybe I just need to make some changes. I'm doing great, but I want to make some changes. That's it. And that's why I tell people, just become more effective with what you do. If you're working hard, awesome. Just tweak it a little bit. If you're prospecting every day, who are you targeting? What are you saying? How are you saying it? If you're not prospecting at all, maybe we need to get to work, right? Maybe we need to start doing something. And this is a great thing because sometimes we get, we wake up that morning and we don't know what to do. We don't have a direction. We don't have a blueprint. We don't have nothing. So if I live in San Jacinto and I say, you know what, this is my target. What city do you live in?
Compton.
Compton. You live in Compton, say, hey, this is my target. By the way, I own a couple of car washes there in Compton. Those self-service coin operated car washes, one on Long Beach and what was the other one? I don't even remember. Long Beach and Rosecrans kind of. But anyways, so you live in Compton. So what do? Hey, give me the drivers for Compton. I'm gonna go knock on those doors. I'm gonna talk to these people. Hey neighbor, it's beautiful when you can talk to somebody, knock on somebody's door and call them neighbor. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to call them by name because the minute you call somebody by name, it's easy for them to check out and say, no, you got the wrong person. Now you feel like crap. You're like, oh, shit, there went my script. Like, okay.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, right? Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
So the reality is when you're knocking on the doors and you live in Compton, you say, hey neighbor, got a minute? That's it. Where do you live in? Colton, same thing. Upland. Well, there you go. Those were the numbers. How about you?
Harupa Valley, Eastville.
Awesome. You're my neighbor. I live in North.
I know you do.
So the reality is that we all have a great source to basically grab from. All you got to do is, you know what? Just learn how to grab the data, learn how to get the data, put it together, and just go to work every single day. That's your job. I have people that you could call it part-time work, 4 hours a day, 4 or 5 hours a day, you go door knock. Some people drop their kids off and they go door knock for those 4 or 5 hours and then they pick them up. And they're killing it. They're killing the business, right? But again, we have to make those choices ourselves. Okay? You guys have any questions? No? Self-explanatory?
Very good training.
And again, this is a training that now you have to go in and get into the in-depth one-on-one so that you can then really gauge, okay, this is gonna be my blueprint. This is gonna be what I do. This is gonna be how I prospect. And there's so much more to it. There's so much more to, okay, these are my targets. But besides being my targets, you know that you guys can get these in a CSV file, upload them, learn how to upload them like to Facebook, run ads towards them. I mean, there's so much you can do with targeted, prospecting. It's amazing how people. That's why some people say, "Oh my God, how'd they get another listing? How'd they get another listing? How'd they get another listing?" They must know a lot of people. Well, yeah, they know a lot of people, but they know a lot of people that are in distress too, right? So with that, I thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time spent, and thank you for my audience, and we thank you everybody in the top tier over there. We appreciate you. Let's have a great one. Let's grow together. And again, follow me on Instagram. You guys, follow me on Instagram. I have a lot of trainings here. I have a ranch. I do a lot of trainings at my ranch as well. And the whole thing is to try to get you guys in tune and try to get you guys more listing minded. Okay? Thank you. Now, remember